All right, welcome back to Game on Vegas. Joining me now is Ted Wynn from The Athletic to get into these last couple of plays here in the Raiders game. And we've talked so much already, Ted, about coaching at this point. And it's a trickle-down effect, right? Because everybody wants to focus on the last play of the game. But there's a sequence right before the 2-minute warning that kind of dictated how the Raiders played it at the end there, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And, when you're getting to the end of game situations, these timeouts are so valuable. And just burning one with 2 minutes, 21 seconds remaining is just not good practice. All right, so right here is where the Raiders' end of game debacle starts. It's 3rd and 11. They're down 2 points, and Aiden O'Connell's going to throw an incomplete pass. And right here, Antonio Pierce is going to decide that he wants to punt this ball in the situation and play field position. But reportedly, Daniel Carlson goes up to him and tells him he thinks he can make this field goal. So they burn timeout to get the field goal team on the field. But it's a 58-yard field goal. And again, you just cannot burn your timeouts when you're down and and there's only 2 minutes and 21 seconds left. But they end up burning the timeout and they end up missing this field goal too, which is a double whammy. And then the defense does a good job of getting the ball back. The offense has a chance to win this game with a field goal. Aiden O'Connell does a good job of driving the ball down to Chiefs territory, and he's going to throw this 7-yard pass to Amir Abdullah and get the ball into even better field goal position. And right here, the clock is running, and they can spike the ball whenever they want. There is more time on the play clock than it is the game clock. But for some reason, they decide to spike the ball with 15 seconds. And right here, the communication between the coach and the quarterback headset is on, so they could tell him to slow down before snapping this ball. But he ends up snapping the ball, spiking the ball, and now it's 3rd and 2. There's 15 seconds left, and the play call, according to Antonio Pierce, is to just throw the ball away. Basically, they just want to snap the ball and throw the ball up in the air so that they could waste 4 or 5 seconds. But the problem is this decision comes in late as well because they break the huddle late. You can see the receivers aren't set yet, which is why Aiden O'Connell is looking around. He's waiting for his receivers to get set. They're not set, and the ball gets snapped before he's ready for it, and the Chiefs recover. You can see from the end zone angle that Dylan Parham gives Jackson Powers-Johnson the signal to snap the ball. Maybe Aiden O'Connell might have been calling for the snap before this, but he's clearly looking around at the receivers because they aren't set yet. And because of that indecision, just because of bad game management, they end up blowing a game that they should have won.
That play there at the end, there's two methods of thinking, I guess you could say. There's the 15 seconds, they're throwing it out of bounds. At that point, especially, you're going to have to kick eventually. Do you feel like they should have just drained it down to 3 seconds and then kick it immediately? Because the other line of thinking might be, well, what if you can get a quick hitter to get a couple more yards because there hasn't been that much faith in Carlson all day long? Where do you stand on just kind of that dynamic?
Yeah, I think either way works. If you want to just kick the field goal there, then wait to spike the ball when there's only 3 seconds left. That way you can make sure that that field goal is the last play of the game, which is what they were setting up to do. And I also think you could have maybe tried to get a little bit more yardage and get closer, which is why that timeout there would have been so valuable because you could have done anything you want. You could have ran the ball. You could have tried to throw a ball in the middle of the field and then call a timeout after, and you would have been golden, but they wasted it. But any decision you make at that point, I think you have to be decisive and you have to be able to execute. Your team needs to know before the game what you like to do in these situations. They have to be prepared, and obviously they weren't, and they ended up with that fumble.
I'm curious because everybody in the postgame was taking blame pie. Like Aiden O'Connell said it was on him. He was clapping too early. Like you said, the huddle was broke a little bit too late. Jackson Powers-Johnson said that it was on him. You talk about the right guard on top of it as well. Looking at all of those different ways that it could have been, I don't want to say who's at fault, but in that situation, who do you lean on more for who might have had just the mistake that led to all of that? Or was it just a combined thing?
To me, I put it more on the coaches because if they were going to make the field goal the last play of the game, Aiden O'Connell should have got it in his headset. The coaches should have told him through his headset that spike the ball with 3 seconds remaining instead of spiking the ball at 15 seconds. That way you don't have to get into all that mumble jumble that they got into at the end of the game. To me, that's just coaching. To me, these are decisions and things you have to be prepared for coming into the game. That way you're not scrambling in the game, which is what happened and which caused chaos.